Hey guys, it's Trina, and I apologize if I'm a little bit quieter than normal in this video because I am still sick and it is messing with my hearing and my voice, and I don't know what I sound like right now, but I didn't want to get too far late into the month for February's monthly recommendations topic. Monthly recommendations is a group on Goodreads that Kayla Rain and myself have set up where every month we do a topic and everyone can join in if you have a blog or a channel, and you can recommend books that fit that topic. And for February, we decided to do a romance alternative. So for people who aren't all caught up in the Valentine's Day mushy, lovey feelings, or for people who are just already doing a topic like that on their own, we wanted to do a topic for books that don't feature romance, or you could concentrate on relationships other than romantic love. So for my video, I've decided to pick out books that don't have romance in them at all. I love a good romance, but I find it very refreshing when a plot can kind of stand on its own and doesn't feel lacking if it doesn't include a romance. So these are some of my favorite books that don't have romance in them. And most of these books I probably have mentioned on my channel before, or they are well known, so I'm not going to be giving a summary about the books, but I just wanted to kind of shine light on some titles that you probably have heard of, but you may not be aware that they don't feature a romance. So the first recommendation I have for you is one of my all-time favorites. This is a middle grade novel. It is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and this story follows a 12-year-old boy. So he's a bit young for like romance to actually happen. There's no love interest or anything in this book. It is just focusing on family relationships and kind of what this kid is going through at school and how he copes with it by imagining a monster that visits him and tells him these kind of dark and twisted fairy tales and life lessons. Next, I have two non-romantic YA books that I want to recommend, and they are both by the same author, my favorite, Mindy McGinnis. And the first one of these is actually the sequel to Not a Drop to Drink. Not a Drop to Drink does feature a romance, although it's not very mushy, but this does have a romance in it, so I'm not recommending this book. I'm actually recommending its sequel, which is called In a Handful of Dust. In a Handful of Dust is actually a companion to Not a Drop to Drink, so you don't necessarily have to have read the first book, but I wouldn't recommend skipping it because that first book is so good too. But if you've read Not a Drop to Drink and you haven't yet picked up the sequel to it, this is definitely one to pick up that doesn't have romance in it. The main character does have a boyfriend at the very beginning of the book, but due to the plot of the book, right away she's kind of setting out on a journey because she can't stay in her hometown, and therefore they aren't together, and romance is definitely not a prevalent theme in this book. Mindy McGinnis' other book that is currently out is A Madness So Discreet, and this definitely has no romance. This is kind of a psychological thriller, kind of a murder mystery. It is a historical novel, and the unique thing here is that we do have a male and female main characters that are in a working relationship. And although there's kind of this undercurrent of chemistry that I picked up on because I wanted the characters to kind of develop feelings for each other, there is never a romance actually established in the series. If this book got a sequel, maybe someday they would get together, but they are not together in this book. I found it a very refreshing story for the fact that this plot could stand on its own without a romance, but also for the fact that a romance very easily could have just been written in for the sake of having a romance, and it didn't need it because this relationship was perfectly fine and strong on its own as a friendship, and I just really enjoyed that about this book. So I would highly recommend this one if you are looking for a book without a romance. Next, I have 4 adult books that I want to recommend, and the first of these is the CORMORAN Strike series by Robert Galbraith, who is a pen name for J.K. Rowling. Our main characters are a private investigator and his receptionist, and in each book they are investigating a new mystery together, and as far as I know, they are not together, at least not in the first 2 books. I cannot speak for the 3rd book, which is already out, or any of the future books that will be in the series, but I really enjoyed seeing the working relationship between these 2 characters. Now, it should be noted that the main character, Corman, is kind of struggling with getting over an ex in his life, but because it's an ex, it's definitely not a loving, happy, positive feelings that he has towards her. And the other character, Robin, she is engaged, but her fiance is not actually a character in the series, so we don't really see their relationship. This is really just a working relationship between a man and a woman, and I just found it, again, like I said, refreshing. Now, that's not to say that there's not potential for them to get together in the future. I have no idea how it's going to end up. The next non-romantic book I would recommend is The Martian by Andy Weir. This is my favorite book of last year. We all know what it's about by now. It's about a guy that gets stranded on Mars, and he is by himself himself. So obviously there is no time for romance, there's no other character around. This is just a very straightforward survival story without that romantic element. The last two books that I have to recommend again are by the same author. They are by Victoria Schwab. Vicious is an adult sci-fi novel about two guys that were in college together and somehow gave themselves superpowers. One of the characters is in a relationship, but that's just not at all what the story is about. It is about these two guys' rivalry, so it's not about romance. Her other series without romance is A Darker Shade of Magic. This is just an adventure story, absolutely without romance. I don't even think these characters would be attracted to each other. And Victoria has said that there will be a romance in book 2, but she has also recently said on Twitter that no matter what is included in her books, romance will never be the forefront of the story, that's just not what she's into writing. So Victoria is definitely an author to check out if you're just not into those really mushy, cheesy romances. So those are the books I would recommend if you just aren't into the romance genre, or if you just need a break from it, because like I said, I love romance too, but sometimes it's nice to have a book that just doesn't have it, or has something more than romance, because romance is definitely not the only type of relationship that we experience in our life. I'll put a link down below to the group. Don't forget to check out what other people are recommending for this topic, and if you have any non-romantic book recommendations for me, definitely leave those down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the comments. Bye!